Okay. Okay. As a rule, please, next time when you join a session for your Zoom, please, as a matter of fact, always put off your audio. You might just be disturbing others, and it's not proper. Yes. Also, you are not expected to be eating while on the program. You are not expected to be lying down while on the program. And you should be properly dressed. Very important. Those are just the 4 simple rules you need to follow. With us tonight, we have Mr. George Uke. Is an experienced social worker currently practicing in Federal Medical Center, Makurdi. And he's also the current state coordinator, National Association of Social Workers of Nigeria. And he's going to be doing 2 things, basically telling us about National Association of Social Workers. I hope I'm right. And he's going to be telling us about Nassau in Benue. But majorly, he'll be telling us about social work as it is being practiced practically in the Federal Medical Center, so that what you've learned in the class, you can hear someone say it live. Yeah, thank you very much. So over to you, Mr. George. First, introduce yourself, then I'll take it up from there. I want to believe that Mr. George is here. Mr. George, you can unmute yourself, please. Okay, Mr. George, if you can't unmute yourself, you can just go out and log in back. Mr. George, can you hear me? If you can hear me, just log out and log in again.
God. So overwhelming. God. Because Babaraka Sheke to Rambanda Lige and Lava Sekiri. Hey.
I can't hear anything.
Please, I can't hear anything.
Okay, we've asked our host to, our guest to log out and log in again so that we can hear him. Please, if you are on this program, kindly put off your mic so that you don't disturb others. Thank you. So let's patiently wait for him. Just give him some few minutes to do that. Okay, Mr. George, can you hear me? Mr. George. Mr. George, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here now. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. So I just introduced you to the people, the students here. You, as Mr. George UK, working with Federal Medical Center, Makodi, and practicing medical social worker with that institution, and also the state coordinator, National Association of Social Workers. We are going to be doing basically two things. Majorly, we are going to be talking about social work as it is practiced practically on the ground in the hospital. Then secondly, you'll be telling us about Nassau, because we look forward to getting most of our students registering as members of Nassau so that they can be licensed to practice as social workers here in Nigeria or anywhere in the world. Over to you, Mr. George.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sazi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, participants. Good evening, our students.
Good evening.
Again, I'm George UK, and I'm going to be speaking on two things. One, let me start with the most important thing, which is the practice of medical social work in Nigeria. Now, first, medical social work is a sub-discipline within the general discipline of social work. In developed economy, before you practice medical social work, you are expected to hold the first degree in social work, and in other places you are supposed to hold a Master of Science degree in social work. Then you'll be qualified to practice in social work. But in Nigeria, this is a discipline that is just coming up, and so we not going to be so serious about masters. But we would like people to have basic knowledge of social work before they're employed into the practice. So medical social work basically is a sub discipline within the general practice, and so it's a sub-specialization, and clinicians or practitioners are expected to acquire basic knowledge because medical social work is a practice-based profession. And so in medical social work, once you're employed and you have the job title as a medical social worker, basically you'll be performing at least 5 or 7 functions. And I'd like to put them in perspectives. I'd like to put those functions or those responsibilities or those roles in perspective. Number one, you'll be playing the role of a clinician. And as a clinician, it means you'll be doing ward round with other healthcare providers, especially doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and others. And so during ward round, what you'll be expected to do is also to participate in the assessment, diagnosis, and treatments or psychosocial treatments of patients, especially patients that do not need drugs, but also have emotional issues that can only be treated by medical social workers because you are expected to offer therapy. Dr. Sarge, are we there? Hello? Hello? Dr. Sarge, can you hear me? All right, so you are going to be functioning as a clinician in the clinical environment. meaning you'll be doing diagnosis, you'll be doing assessment. You start with assessment, then diagnosis, and then treatment. You also be expected to offer psychosocial counseling and care for patients and families on admission. You also be expected to, hello, Dr. Saji, are you there? Hello? Are you there, Dr. Saji? Hello? All right, so if you can hear me, I said a medical social worker is going to be functioning as a clinician, meaning he or she will be offering psychosocial counseling, will be doing assessments of patients' ability to undergo, to take some medications or certain treatment patterns, or certain treatment course. You are also expected to serve in the, I want to be sure Dr. Sazi is hearing me.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
I said I'm going to present the social work in the hospital setting in perspective. The first perspective is to see medical social workers as clinicians. And I just said that as clinicians, their responsibility will be to do assessment. And what you do in assessment basically is to help doctors determine whether a particular line of treatment is convenient or appropriate for a particular patient, given his socioeconomic background. You're also going to be helping doctors in offering in giving diagnosis, especially social diagnosis. In social diagnosis, what you do is to relate the disease condition with the socioeconomic condition of a patient to show the extent to which the environment or the social condition is interfering with the medical condition. Again, you also be required to offer counseling as treatment. And so what you basically be doing is to offer psychosocial services or psychosocial therapies to patients whose medical condition may not necessarily require drugs. Again, as a medical social worker, you are also going to be expected to participate in research and trials. In this perspective, medical social workers are expected to participate in clinical trials. Assuming we have a new drug and the scientists want to try it, as a medical social worker, you will be expected to be part of the team that will be participating in the trial. And what you do in the medical trials is basically to protect the human factors that will be involved in the trial. Ensure that people that have been selected for the trials understood the purpose of the trial and also have given their consent. If they are going to be paid, ensure that they get their proper payment. Again, as medical social workers, you are also be expected to play the role of expert witness. And in this case, there are most medical issues may end up in litigations. Medical management of patients sometimes end up in litigations. And so when litigations come and the patient or the families are raising issues of human rights, it is the responsibility of a medical social worker on the holistic team to also go to court to show that, yes, a particular patient was either properly treated or was not treated properly. And to present your case and win it, you must also show in documentation that you are properly document that the patient was properly treated. So medical social workers will be expected to go to court either to defend a patient or their organization. And so in our practice, we are expected to properly document our work. And so because when you go to court, it is the work, the documentation that the hospital lawyer or the client or whoever is going to go to court against the hospital will rely on. For example, if you have a rape case, a medical social worker is supposed to document that he or she has seen the patient and that the patient also came. The patient was the patient was treated in the hospital, that the medical social worker also saw the patient and can confirm that the patient came with bruises or there's a forceful penetration. And with the penetration, it means you are trying to establish a case of rape. And so that is what you do at the level of expert witness. And then you are also going to be, you are going to also handle other medical social issues. A lot of litigations, a lot of medical social issues will come up. And those medical social issues are issues that social workers will be it's their responsibility to protect the human rights in the hospital environment. So it is a work, it is a function, it is a duty, the responsibility of medical social workers to ensure that patients or clients or patients who are admitted in the hospitals are given their basic human rights, their right as contained in the health bill. The patient has a right to treatment no matter the situation. And so when a patient is having the challenge of admission, it is a responsibility of medical social workers to come in and ensure that the patient enjoy his rights to treatment. And when they are discharged and they have discharge problem, it is the responsibility of medical social workers to ensure that though the patient, to ensure that the patient is released if he gains in another responsibility on another thing that medical social workers are supposed to do. Healthcare providers, it is also their responsibility to ensure that they formulate policy and help formulate policy and also support management with policies that will help in the administration of social welfare in the hospital. It is the responsibility of also within that administration, you plan for the discharge of the patient, you plan and resolve issues that will affect patient discharge. You also resolve issues that conflict between the patient and healthcare providers. And of course, in most cases, you are supposed to stand with the patient and not the organization, because you are a human rights advocate in the hospital. Dr. Sajda, are we still there?
Yes, you are there. Go ahead.
All right. So within the context of social work administration, you also have a responsibility to resolve conflict that may be arising from role conflict or role overlaps or role confusion. Because sometimes the work that social workers, medical social workers especially, are expected to do, sometimes are very close to the work that the nurse will also do. Well, basically, medical social workers in the hospital settings are caregivers. And you know that nurses too are caregivers. So sometimes there may be role confusion. What is supposed to be the role of a clinical social worker? What is supposed to be the role of a nurse? What is supposed to be the role of a clinical psychologist? And sometimes you find them struggling and then clashing over a patient. So it becomes the responsibility of a social work administrator to balance it and show the boundaries. And so in most cases, you can find a situation where if you're not properly trained as a medical social worker, you see nurses taking over your responsibility. You see clinical psychologists also trying to take over your responsibility. And so when you have role conflicts and role overlaps or role conflicts or role confusion, it becomes the role of a medical social worker who is trained at certain levels to act as a social work administrator to balance it. also we also have. I'm also going to discuss another context of our medical social work, and this one has to do with your role in ensuring that you mobilize resources for the welfare of patients. We all know that social services are non-profitable areas. And so in most organizations, the managers will not want to put their resources in social welfare. So it becomes the responsibility of practicing medical social workers to mobilize resources through collaborations with very good organizations, with charitable organizations for the welfare of our patient. In fact, we are supposed to come in when there's a gap in the resources to manage your patient. And so this is actually one of the roles that you are supposed to take it very serious, because once you are made as a medical social worker, you're going to be facing cases where a patient comes to the hospital and does not have the requisite resources for treatment. And so you have the patient has to fall back to you as a medical social worker. And as a medical social worker, you must also develop the skills of asking and getting money for the welfare of your patient. Again, there's another context that I would like to look at it before I go to NASO. The NASO is one body that I'm going to talk about it before I allow questions from the participant. Now, as a medical social worker in the hospital setting, you are going to be confronted with what we call emerging social problems. We all know that in developed economy, there are cases of gay, lesbians who are also going to be asking their right. In Nigeria, I know that we are not there yet because our laws are against homosexualism. But if you find homosexual couples, if you have same-sex couples who are asking for services, you know there's a chance that they will be discriminated by the other healthcare providers, because in a practice environment, it's going to be difficult for some person to attend to same-sex couple who are asking for special services. But you know, it becomes the responsibility of a medical social worker. A medical social worker, by your ethics, by your practice, by your values, you are not supposed to discriminate against any patient. In fact, one of your fundamental functions within the Head B, patient Head B, is to ensure that no patient is discriminated. All patients are treated no matter what. So it becomes your responsibility to advise, to also counsel, to also discuss with healthcare providers that the patient is a gay, because it's going to confide in you that he or she is a gay, he or she is a lesbian, he or she is a bisexual, and so he has a challenge and they need to attend to. So you help the other healthcare providers understand that though this patient is a gay, but within the patient bill of rights, he has a right to admission, a right to treatment. So there are going to be a lot of emerging social problems coming up, and it becomes the responsibility of medical social workers. And that is why training at Plage are very important for individuals who want to come into the practice of medical social work. And I want to thank the CEO for the opportunity he's offering Nigerians and other participants across the globe, around the world, to participate, because you need to have skills, you need to develop, you need to have the knowledge, because knowledge will not help you to manage emerging social problems. Emerging social problems are problems that we do not know about them before, or have not come to Nigeria, but very most likely one day we'll see them. Or we have patients who cannot disclose their sex identity. But we need, as medical social workers, it is not our business whatever is the sexual orientation of our patient. So it becomes our responsibility to educate the other healthcare providers to understand that this patient, I am dwelling on this because it is one of the issues that's facing our practice environment. In our practice environment, people come and you find other healthcare providers trying to discriminate against them. For example, you have what we call discordant couple. A wife is positive, HIV positive, the husband is HIV negative. And so there's a chance that the healthcare providers, if they are not properly educated, may want to expose and may want to discriminate. But for us medical social workers, that is, we are not supposed to discriminate. Our job at this point is to be to educate. Again, part of another thing that I'm going to discuss finally before I go to Nassau, it is our role in helping patients in recovery. Very important. Now, most patients will recover quick if they have been properly educated, because there are factors that determine recovery in health setting, and some of these factors are psychosocial in nature. For example, once a patient comes on admission, it becomes the responsibility of social workers to check the patient health literacy. Health literacy is determined by the patient's ability to understand treatment course, medications, and also to understand treatment course, medication, and also take responsibilities. Hello, are we there? Dr. Sazi, are we there? Hello, are we there? Dr. Sazi, are we there? Hello? Are you hearing me, Dr. Sazi? Hello? Are we there?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. I'm just saying, okay, before I go to Nassau, I was just saying that it is our responsibility to assess and manage the psychosocial factors that determines or influence recovery. And so I was saying, in a practical situation, once they admit a patient, it becomes the responsibility of a medical social worker to assess the patient's health literacy. Health literacy is defined or determined by the patient's ability to understand the treatment course, understand medication, understand diagnosis, and also cooperate with treatment. So when you discover that a patient does not possess the ability to understand his diagnosis, treatment, and medications, it becomes your responsibility to psycho-educate the patient. In fact, you are supposed to draw the attention of the doctor, of the managing consultant, to the fact that the patient does not have, the patient health literacy is very, very poor, so that they will not know the language which they can explain the treatment. You are also supposed, because once the patients understand treatments, the diagnosis and the treatment, he or she is likely going to cooperate and recovers on time. Again, once they admit a patient, part of the psychosocial factors that the medical social worker will be looking at is the patient income level. Income level determines how fast and how well a patient is going to recover. And so you are not supposed to abandon, once as a clinical social worker, a medical social worker, once they admit a patient, these are the psychosocial factors you'll be looking at. You're also supposed to look at the patient's support system, social support system, whether patient A has a strong social support system, whether he has a family background that can support him, whether he has a group of friends that can support him, whether he comes from a religious background that will support him. You're also supposed to look at factors like religious dogmatism. For example, we know that if a Jehovah's Witness patient, a religious background is Jehovah's Witness, and so if the patient admitted and needs blood transfusion, you know there's going to be some issues with that. But with counseling and psychoeducation, you are going to first educate the healthcare provider, the doctor, the managing consultant, that your patient is a Jehovah's Witness by religious affiliation. And so you need to first and foremost educate him why he needs to take blood transfusion. He needs to take the blood, why he needs to be transfused. And so I'm sure these are some of the things that medical social workers in the practice are going to be doing as they work in the hospital environment. Very quickly, let me go to NASO. NASO is Nigeria Association of Social Workers. NASO is the professional umbrella body of all social work professionals, meaning there is generic social work. And so in generic social work, you just get a first degree and you can practice any aspect of social work. But there are various sub-disciplines in social work itself. And some of these sub-disciplines include medical social work, include school social work, industrial social work, hospital social work, hospice social work, oncology social work. All of these sub-disciplines may have their associations, their professional association, but all of us put together were under the Nigeria Association of Social Workers, which is our professional umbrella body. Nigeria Association of Social Workers is an affiliate of International Federation of Social Workers. Now, once you are trained by Plage, we will be expecting that once you are trained by Plage as you take courses with Plage in medical social work, you will be expected to be registered. You'll be expected to register with NASO, which is the umbrella professional body, so that we give you certificate of practice. With certificate of practice, it means if you are involved in any unwholesome or malpractice, we should be able to hold you accountable. And if anybody is doubting your skills, with the certificate of practice, the person is supposed to give you the benefit of doubt, because certificate of practice allows you to practice. In certificate of practice by NASO allows you to practice in medical social work environment, in school social work environment, in hospital, in hospice, in oncology, in every other discipline and sub-discipline in the generic social work environment. So I am trusting God that as you take courses with Plage, and as Plage gives you license or certificates, we will be allowing you to register with NASO so that you can practice, because we are a profession, and as professional you must have evidence to show that you are with the professional body or you have been recognized by the professional umbrella body. I'm sure let me pause at this point and allow the moderator to continue from here. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, George. Okay, you've done justice to the topic at hand. And there are two things that have been discussed here. Social work, Mr. George basically have taken us through, practically through the four walls of the hospital as a social worker, giving us a practical approach, an idea of what it looks like and feels like to be a social worker right there in the hospital. And the second part is about NASO. We are working with NASO, specifically Benue State chapter of NASO, where he's a state coordinator, to create room for our members to become, to have certificate of practice. There's a license and there's a certificate of practice. And the certificate of practice will make way for you to eventually become licensed by the national body. But for now, once you finish this program, we'll be opening doors for you to become members of NASO, Benue State chapter, which by implication means that you can actually call yourself a member of NASO. Yes, and we are working towards having a national license for every member of NASO, especially those of you that will be joining the Benue State chapter. So it's a very huge opening that is coming our way, courtesy of NASO Benue State chapter. And we must say thank you, a very big thank you to Mr. George Uke for giving us the opportunity to come in. And so that those of you that have dreams of practicing and working as social workers, you now have the opportunity of really bringing it to life to see yourself working as a social worker. And if you this sociology or social work, general social work. It's an opportunity for you to also know that you can branch off into different areas. We'll be working on those various areas so that you have a background knowledge of those areas with time. Yes, okay. We'll be opening up for questions. I know most of the questions that will be asked here, how can I become a member of NASO, this and that? Please, you will be getting full information about that, the membership. If I were, not just you, we'll be opening up to every single student of Plage Metaverse that have done any form of healthcare course with us. We're going to run some social work programs for them so that they can have the right background. And those of them that are interested will be supported to be members of NASO. Now, why we said late, we're not going to do that now is that it's going to be a very broad program that will involve the thousands of students that have done training with Plage. So you are going to be part of it, and just watch out. We are going to send you emails, SMS. This when you see SMS from us, don't start asking if it's genuine or not. Probably you just go to our website or our Facebook page and you see that, oh, it's genuine because it's there on the Facebook page. To save us this problem of answering, is it genuine or not? It becomes too much when we send our messages. I will say that, please be patient. You definitely will become a member of NASO, following through the right path. If you have not done social work or medical social work, we're going to give you some basic training, and we are looking at you also doing internship so that you have a practical knowledge of this course itself. Okay, we'll just take 5 persons, questions for 5 persons, so that we can close for the day. We don't intend to keep today youth for too long. Just 5 persons. I need to see your hand, please. And please also note that this program is being recorded, so that those of you that can't hear now or are in the class, you can watch it later. For now, it's being recorded. Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to read some questions here. Okay, Edward Vande from South Africa, from Sierra Leone. See, I'm a social worker and I just concluded a medical social work course, Sierra Leone chapter. Okay, that's good. That's good. Christiana Adebite, please make your question very, very brief, just some few seconds. And I also want to believe that the presenter will make his response very, very brief in seconds so that we can leave here on time. Over to you, Adebite. Unmute yourself, please.
Okay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for the. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate. Please, I want to ask. Now, we have undergone this training for social worker.
Medical social work. Are you there?
Medical social, as now that we are.
Please unmute yourself.
Explain.
You have to go over your question again. We can't hear you.
Hello?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sir. I said we that just concluded the training for this medical social work.
Yes.
That led us to this opening space, and we are waiting for the test so that we can have the certificate. I say now, after the certificate, we pass the test and you get the certificate. Now the license that the doctor talked about, can we have access to register for the license, or what are the procedure, like the requirement or things that need to be done to have that, to be a member of the body and to have the license?
Well, okay. Before I hand over to Mr. George, first of all, we just mentioned it here that as soon as you finish this course, you are free to become a member of NASO Benue State chapter. We'll be sending you forms to fill. You make your payment. and become a member of Benue State chapter of Nassau. And Nassau Benue State chapter will give you a certificate of practice, not a license. And the license is when it is time for the national to call up for license, you will be given the requirements to become licensed. And I understand that the licenses are in different categories. So I just want you to just take the first step to see yourself having a certificate of practice. And while we work out measures for you to even go and do your internship, maybe after another level of training. So I think that should be what we can say for now. But I want to also hand over to Mr. George to say add to that. What to you, Mr. George?
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello? All right. Thank you very much, my sister, the person that asked the question. The first thing first is to have basic knowledge of social work, which La Plage is offering you. And once you are satisfied by La Plage, with the collaboration that we have with La Plage, it means we can allow you registered as a professional member. And with that registration, you'll be given certificate of professional practice. Now that is preparing you to be licensed by the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Federal Republic of Nigeria has a council for the regulation and license of social workers. As soon as His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu inaugurate or constitute the board, you will now be asked to begin to prepare yourself towards getting the license. No professional body can license you. We can only give you a certificate of practice. But the body responsible for license, regulations, and discipline is actually a government body. The bill was passed 2022 and assented into law by former President Muhammadu Buhari. And so we're expecting that President Tinubu, once he's settled down and is constituting board, the board will come up. But the first thing is that you must belong to a professional body that is going to be recommending you for license. And we cannot give you our recommendation unless, one, you are trained, which is the training you have taken with La Plage, and two, you are registered, you showing evidence of registration with the professional umbrella body, which is Nassau. I'm sure I've answered your question. And of course, like Dr. Sazi was saying, our license is going to be in categories. For example, if somebody holds a PhD, his license is going to be higher than MSc. The MSc person is going to be higher than first degree. First degree is going to be higher than diploma. But then license is going to be issued to you depending on your level of education, your level of training. So I'm sure that with what you're getting here, you'll be qualified you'll be qualified and allowed to register with the professional umbrella body and be carrying the certificate of professional practice, so that if you go anywhere and you see and you want to challenge a particular practice, if you go anywhere and you want to practice, the first thing is to show that you belong to a professional body. And then if we see you practicing and we ask you to show us your evidence of registration and you're not able to show us, we should be able to sue you for practicing without a certification. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. George. For those of you in Ghana and outside Nigeria or other states, this is a virtual program, and virtual programs are borderless. And where you can go to Nassau in your state, but I think you can also talk to us, and we can virtually converge in put your documents together and get you registered with Nassau Benue State chapter. I'm in Abuja, but I'm a member of Nassau in Benue State, and I attend their programs, even though I'm based in Abuja. So if you are doing a virtual program where people from Ghana, other countries are attending, then it means that you can virtually also be part of the state chapter. Yeah. For those of you in Ghana, please feel free if you want to join and relax. I'm sure you feel at home. And if you have any association you already belong to in Ghana, excellent. For me, I just feel you want to join this is just because you want to join one in Nigeria. Otherwise, you might not necessarily need to join another one because you are already a member of a medical social work or social work association in Ghana. So basically, right. Okay, and what other question? Yes. Okay, Dr. Kefas Joseph, over to you. Just your question should be just some few seconds, please. Dr. Kefas, please unmute yourself. Okay, I think Dr. Kefas is not there. Evans Bayelma.
Good evening, everyone.
Is that Dr. Kefas?
Yes, sir. This is Dr. Kefas speaking.
I was almost overruling you.
Sorry, thank you, Doc. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, I have two questions to ask.
Okay.
Yes, the first one is when doctor was talking about if two people, that is like couple, has HIV, what they should do is to encourage them. I don't know, in this situation,
Sergeant, we're not hearing you.
Yeah. I think the guy, Dr. Kefas, was disconnected. Let me unmute him again.
okay, sir.
All right, go ahead, doctor, go ahead.
All right, sir. So what I was asking is, so in this case, we normally have people like that. When they come, two couples, then after running tests on them, you find out one person has
It's
HIV.
positive.
Yes, it's positive. Then the other one is negative. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So I don't know, this is it good to tell the result, to tell them the result in the same when they are seated in together? Is it advisable? And if it is advisable, yes, sir. If it is advisable, yes, sir. What are the let me say, is it conditions, or should we, if like they love each other, should we tell them they should go ahead to get married? That is it before marriage. Yes, sir. So I want to be clarified on that aspect. So well, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you, doctor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right. That situation is technically referred to as discordant couple, meaning the partner A is negative, partner B is positive. The husband may be positive, the wife may be negative. Now, because social work is a practice-based, and as a profession, we are guided by principles, ethics, and values. Now, in one of our values and ethics, especially the ethics of confidentiality, individual confidentiality and sociality. Now, scholars, professors have been having issue. In University of Jos, Professor A.E. Bioru, who is our mentor, who is our national trainer, will insist that because of confidentiality, and until you get the consent of the person that is negative, you are not supposed to disclose the result of one another you're not supposed to disclose the result to, for example, the man is positive, the woman is negative. You're not supposed to tell whether your husband is positive until and unless you take the man through a process of counseling, helping him to understand that if the wife does not know that he is positive, that means he'll be hiding and be taking medication, and it's going to be frustrating. So we will encourage him through counseling, through sensitization, through psychoeducation, to agree to sign to a form that the status should be disclosed. you know that's what you call status disclosure form. You must first and foremost, the patient must agree that you should disclose. Otherwise, the case would go to court, and the lawyers will be that you have disclosed the status of the patient to another person without his consent, and it's going to be a medical legal issue. Now, in University of Nigeria in Nsukka, the late Professor Ikpe, we say, well, there are conditions under which, when you weigh risks and benefits, you now look at the risks involved, you look at the benefit. So whether the patient consent that you should tell the partner or not, because of your responsibility to the society, you should go ahead and disclose. But to be on a positive and to be on a safe side, my brother, as a practicing medical social worker, continue to insist, continue to encourage the patient that is positive to see the need to disclose. Continue to encourage, because you tell him the benefit of exposing his status to his wife. Some of these benefits that once the wife agrees and she overcome the shock, she will support him. She will even be the one traveling to even get some medication for him. And then there'll be no stigma. Of course, there'll be initial shock, but once they overcome the shock, she will cooperate. So that you don't go to court and they withdraw your license for disclosing the status of a patient to another patient. Because in the hospital, you must treat them as individual patients no matter what.
Yes.
So, but then there are scholars that will say there are conditions under which, even if the patient agree to disclose his status or not, because that is called emergency rule. For example, during the COVID-19, whether you agree that your status should be disclosed or not, but because it's a pandemic, right? And the president has declared this as a national health security issue, you have to disclose it. So, my brother, in our practice, you are supposed to get to a point where the patient too the patient has come to the understanding that these are the benefits that status disclosure, the benefits that he or she stands to benefit. So we will not, as a professional, I will not tell you whether the patient agree or not, disclose it. No. Now, but there's a point where you disclose it, because that's what we call limitation of the principle of confidentiality. When you know that the man is going about and is not practicing, is not living positively, you know, I know you are HIV positive, and then you are going about distributing it. And then I have a responsibility to summon what we call case conference, discuss with other professionals, and let's agree as a profession, as a professional. And maybe you can also report the matter to your council, or report the matter to the NASO, which is the professional umbrella body. And here is the situation, and these are the steps that I've taken, yet the man is not agreeing to sign to a consent. And so I'm sure I've given you technical answers. But
it's a pleasure. I really understand. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, the second question.
Thank you.
Sorry, the reason why I asked, because there's an intending couple that went and run a test, but the both of them are HIV. Yes, that is like medical intending couple. So
they are premarital.
Yes. So they both are negative, but what they discover in them is the man is a diabetic, while but the lady is not. So when they get to the church, although the doctor did not reveal it to the both of them, is when they get to the church, is the church and now told them. So when the church now told them, the lady now say it's over, that she cannot be with a diabetic patient. She don't want to die as a widow, you know. So that gave me a concern. I say, why should such be? If that should not be revealed in the hospital,
you know what? From that example, what is missing in that situation is what we call self-disclosure.
Disclosure.
Yeah, self-disclosure. For example, if let's not be talking about the HIV again. For example, you want to marry a lady and you already you have 3 other children out of wedlock. Status disclosure or self-disclosure is a process or situation where you are encouraged to be the first person to tell the person. If I tell a lady that if I tell a lady that I'm about to marry, that sorry, you love me, I love you, but the truth of the matter is that I have 3 children. I think she can make up her mind rather than wait until pastor. You know, pastor may be saying it like the way the spirit leads, right? It may not be saying professionally. So I think the doctor did not involve medical social workers, because if you have a situation like that, you're supposed to involve medical social workers and invite them immediately to start counseling. You now tell the man, this is your result. You are this. Your spouse to be is this. Please, will encourage you to self-disclose your status. The importance of it is that you will be hearing it from you. And if there are issues that both of you need to agree and begin to conceal it from the general public, you start doing it. Because if I tell a lady ahead of time that I have children, she may be the one going to tell people that I love him no matter what.
Yes, sir.
So I think that's the missing point. The missing line is that the man was not encouraged to self-disclose his status. And then when the thing got to the church were doing it the way, you know, as believers, your pastor is not supposed to be sugarcoating you. Now, he's supposed to tell you straight. But most pastors are supposed to be medical, are supposed to be social workers. They are supposed to be counselors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. George, and thank you, Dr. Kefas. Mr. George, I want to look at this. As a first and second degree holder in psychology, and with the certificate and knowledge gained in Plage Metaverse, can I be a licensed medical social worker, irrespective of the fact that my first degree is not in social work?
Now, let me, okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Let me attempt to separate certificate of practice from license. You know, there are things you say here that you should be responsible for it. One, the board responsible for registration and license. You know, I told you now, license is going to come from government. Now, when they constitute the board, I have seen in the Council Act some waivers. The person who holds a first and second degree in psychology and then have taken a course in medical social work or in social work with Plage should be applying for waiver. Are we together?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the person will be given waiver, but that will be determined by the council. But at my own, at the level of professional body, we will give you the practice certificate. With the practice certificate and with Plage certificate, with your first and second degree, you cannot apply for waiver in view of the fact that social work, in view of the fact that most of the courses, if you take courses, if you're a social worker, you might have taken courses in psychology too. So I'm sure when you apply for waiver, council will look into it and say, okay, the man has basic trainings in social work. At least there's a basic training in social work. And then he has degree and second degree in psychology, which is also an important aspect of social work training. He will apply for waiver. I am sure they will give him the waiver because he's already practicing social work, given the fact that he has registered as a professional social worker with the Nigeria Association of Social Workers. I think I'll try answering it because I have to be technical, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Joshua, we'll have to limit our questions to just 3 persons asking questions. Evans Bayel Modinko, over to you, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, doctor and convener. I thank you very much for this educative Zoom conference. I am not a social worker, but I am a facilitator of your programs in Ghana.
Okay.
And I want to seize this opportunity to ask two questions on behalf of Ghanaians who are participating and also potential applicants. And one of my questions is that, can we in Ghana use these certificates and practice outside Africa? I'm talking about America or Europe. How possible can we use these certificates to practice in those areas? That's one. Two, can we also do the same in all the other programs that we used to run? For example, the cybersecurity, international diplomacy, protocol, and conflict resolution, among others. So if we are able to always finish a program like this and come out with a Zoom conference with one or two resource persons to come, like how my dear lecturer has given us a good run for our monies or our time. I want you to throw light on these two so that Ghanaians who are watching you or who have joined you can also have the opportunity to have more insight of the programs. And I must commend all the programs and whatever and able to take part in the facilitation. I think it is free. One, I like it. Two, the materials involved is fantastic. And I must commend everybody who is part of this and who has made it possible for this particular institution to come out with these packages. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Evans Bayelmo Dinko. I appreciate your comments so far, but I'll go straight to responding to you. I've answered questions like this several times. I will start like this. One of the main reasons why we have trainings in La Plage Metaverse is to give people opportunity to see life and go through life in a different way. And what is that supposed to mean? If you studied accounting, for instance, as somebody just asked, and you've always wished you to become a social worker, going through a course like this will expose you to how to become a social worker and what are the ways, what are the associations, what are the professional bodies you can join to become a social worker. Before now, you were an accountant. Another good example, again, is for somebody that studied maybe something like history. You search for jobs and you're already beginning to give up. But with the kind of training we are offering here, you attend our training, and that's why most times we say the trainings are free. If you cannot get a certificate, let the knowledge you've gotten help you to understand that your life has not ended, that there are so many huge opportunities all over for you just to choose from. And what it simply means is that you can veer off from history into another profession, following an introductory program, joining professional groups. and things like that. So I will say this. I think it is now clear to understand why, first and foremost, we are running our programs the way we are running them. It is opening doors, opening minds, and giving hope to people to know that they are not stuck. They can diversify, let me use that word, diversify, into other professions. And I can also let you know that most professions welcome people outside their professions if you go through some form of training and practice or practicals. And that is what Plage is doing. So answering your questions about people getting jobs abroad, I will be lying to you if I tell you if you go to America, you will get a job with our certificate. But however, I also will let you know that we have people working in US and Canada with our certificates. What that simply means is that I cannot tell an organization that you must employ somebody as long as it comes with Plage certificate. But the easiest way out of all this, which I keep telling students, is that when you undergo a training with Plage, don't just wait to get a certificate. Please go through the course, understand it, imbibe it. If you need to practice it. Go for practicals, go for volunteering positions, and let that course be part of you. Because any employer that wants to employ you will first of all talk to you, ask questions, take you through an interview. And if you don't scale through the interview, nobody will bother about your certificate. If you like, let your certificate be from one of the best universities in the world. Nobody will bother about you. Today, no employer, no organization wants to employ someone that is not sound or is not good at the job they want to employ the person for. So we first of all lay emphasis on you, the knowledge, one, the skill, then expertise. So these are the things you need to hold handy. There are people in Ghana working with Plage certificate. There are people in US working with Plage, Australia, several countries. We can't even mention all. But I want to also believe that there are people that have been turned down from working because they have the certificate, probably because that organization may not recognize certificates from XYZ country. That is not none of our fault, and it's not the fault of the student either. And it's also not the fault of the organization. That is their policy. Mr. Evans, I don't know if I'm making any headway in responding to you. Yeah. So,
yes.
Yes,
you are actually answering the questions.
Perfect. So we just have to be very clear about that. First and foremost, it is you, not the certificate. The knowledge makes you. Even without paying for a certificate, if you can go and defend yourself somewhere, you will get a job. But of course, they will ask for a certificate to put in your file. That is where you will need to come back to Plage. Please, that certificate, that course I did, I need a certificate. We might even tell you it's no longer possible. Okay, thank you very much. And I'm glad I answered your question. Okay, we'll just take 2 more persons and that's all.
Don't add extra price again.
Please, let's mute ourselves. Okay. Samuel Odeyale, please let your question be very, very, very brief.
Okay, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So my question is that, is it possible, how possible is it, the location, Benue State and Ibadan, to do the internship you mentioned?
Well, the internship is a program that we are working on and might be coming up soon. This course doesn't require an internship, but definitely we are going to do an internship. We're going to do another level of training that is going to be a little bit more intense. And yeah, then you can go for your internship. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Famimi Joyce, I understand you are in Makodi. What's your question? Please make it very brief.
Okay, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Okay, my question is, I wanted to ask that, okay, when we are done with this training and then we have gotten the certificate for, is it practice? That basically we will be practicing most in a hospital, or can we practice with, let me say, these NGO bodies, like NGO, or it must be specific in a hospital?
Yeah, I will want to also say here at my level to say yes, you can practice in most organizations. Basically, a social worker is supposed to, it's even an HR issue where you are supposed to have a social worker in a place of work to guide the organization as to the needs of the staff. You have them in courts, you have them in hospitals, you have them in police stations, you have them in so many organizations. So I think Mr. George can throw more light on that.
Okay, yeah, are we there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Joy, for the question. Thank you. You are my Makodi person. Thank you very much. First, like Dr. Sazi said, your next training now, we are going to also include some component of generic training, so that because there's something called central basic principles of social work practice. Once you know them, you can practice anywhere. It mustn't be only hospital. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So in your next training, we will have you're going to have opportunity to learn the general basic principles and values of social work practice. So with that, you can just, anywhere you go, it's just a matter of conversion, right?
Okay, sir.
So this thing may be medical social work, but in your next training, there'll be medical social work, there'll be other aspects of social work, and then there'll be a course on principles and techniques of social work. In that case, generic social work, so that you can practice as a military social worker, police social worker, industrial social worker, school social worker, hospital social worker, hospic, where you'll be managing cancer or terminal illness. You'll also be practicing at a home care social worker. And then there's also what we call private social worker, where you can also establish your counseling office, where people come and consult you. That one, once you get there, you must need you must need license. But then you are going to get basic knowledge that cut across all the areas of social work. For example, in my first degree, I had generic knowledge of social work. But in my second and master degree, I have to now narrow it to medical social work and psychiatric social work, so that I can practice in the hospital. But if today you take me to practice in the school, I can still apply the same principles of social work in managing delay, academic delay, performance, stigmatization in school, and things that all those are school-related social work things, bullying, family not agreeing with one another because they are the son of Mr. A, and they gave him position 1, and my son is taking position 10. The parents families will not be agreeing, and like that. So medical social, school social worker comes in. So my sister, there's going to be training that will give you the general knowledge, especially the knowledge of principles and techniques and values of social work, irrespective of any area of social work that you want to practice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. George, for doing justice to that. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this program. Barnabas Oluwaleye. Yes, there's going to be room for practicum, but like I said, we're going to do another course that will make it very, very necessary for everybody to down to their internship or parties or whatever. Yeah. So for those of you asking about license and certificate, we might not need to go back to that issue because we've trashed it over and over and again. What you need to do is to watch this video on our Facebook page. Just go to La Plage Metaverse on Facebook. Go down and you will see this video after I've put it on YouTube. Please watch it so that you can actually see what we said about license and certificate. We've clearly stated and separated the two, and also mentioned how you can get any of these two as at when due. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, hopefully we should be able to post your test so that you can take your test. and start applying for your certificate. The program we did is a dual certificate course. We want to ensure that we are also working with Nigerians and Africans in general. It's not just about money, but it's about service. You can also attest to the fact that you've taken this course without paying a dime, and which means that we are not just all about your money. And the 2 certificates you are going to pay for has been clearly stated that it's going to be 5,000 for the 2 certificates. And we have 4 courses we took. So you have 2 courses, international conflict resolution and diplomacy and protocol. The 2 certificates will be 5,000. And so you just make your payment in your class by the account number posted by the admin. And your certificate will be processed from tomorrow. But if you're not able to get your test today, then first thing tomorrow morning, the test will be posted in the class. Take your test, post your score in your class, then your certificate will be processed while you go ahead to make your payment. Thank you very much. And please watch out for the video, share it with those that are not in the Zoom session so that they can watch. And to you, Mr. George, we appreciate your time. We look forward to doing more programs with you, and hopefully the longer programs where you anchor students on this program. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.